Okay, so now please let's pay attention, right? Let's pay attention. So first thing first is we'll be using documentation here, right, to help us through. So first thing first is, like I said, we'll do the front end. We'll look at it from front end perspective. So what I'll do here is I would I would do, let's call it payment screen, right? Payment screen. So payment screen RFC. Okay, good. So so now what we're going to do is I'm going to come to React A star. So React A star. So I'm going to use this, but this is our guide first. Now this is for front end view, right? So
This is the main work man.
discuss on let's discuss on how to use it, right? That's the most important. So they have two ways. You can either use, so this is the demo. So this is the demo, right? So first thing first is let's store the dependency. Okay, so we've gotten that right. So there are two ways. We can either use their hook method, or we use the component consumer method, right? However, or we use the button method. It doesn't really matter which we choose to use. They are all the same thing. So let me just use this one, right? So this is what we designed. So I'm not going to pick up everything, but if we look at this code here, right? Please everybody pay attention. If we look at this code here, we can see that it's not everything. This is okay, so this is the configuration, this is a function, this is a function, this is another function, this is a component, right? This is a component, and this is our app. This app is calling this component, right? Right? Yeah. So what I want to do now is, what we can see is like maybe two or three components, but we're just going to call everything inside here. So let's pick what is important. This configuration is very, very important. So I'm picking that. Yes. So I'm picking that. Now these two function, which is the on success and on close. So I'm picking it, right. So this is reference. Let me just do any avoid that, right. Now we have this, right. So let me just remove this. So if the payment goes successful, this is where you're taking them to, right. If the payment fails, this is where you'll be taking them to. So that's good. So now this component, right, the most important thing is this guy, right? That component. So I'm taking that guy, call it here. Then That guy we call it inside button. Then this function is just a button. This component is just a button, right? So I can now remove this and do button. So let's call it a. So let's do class name btn family. So this guy has on click, then we put this now. For JavaScript is good to go, but for TypeScript this is where the problem comes in. So if I remove this, because that guy will be shouting as well. So if I remove both of them, we would have this. So let me just come here and do any here. So let me call on success and on close. They're not doing anything. It's not like they'll work. It won't work.
Why did you
You see? So if you over into it, you'd see the types. Because I've called any now, right? But if you over into it, you'd see their types, right? Now let's explain what is here. This is the most important thing, right? Which is the email. We can get that email, right? Hmm? No. So the user email. So we've gotten our user. The user exactly the user that logged in, the email will put it here, right? Now this is the price they'll be paying. Now amount in the country, lowest currency, blah blah kobo. So for this now, this is in kobo. So that means this is 200 naira, right? Good. So note that. So you must always multiply the amount they are paying by 100, right? You see, multiply by 100. Now, this is another important place, which is your public key. How do you get your public key? You must have a staff account, right? So let me come here and okay. So they have the live key and the test key. So for the sake of this class, we'll be using the test key, right? So now this is the test key. So live public key, that's not the one we want. We want test public key, which is this. So I'm going to copy that and remove what I have here and put this. Then save it. Now once I save this component now, which is this payment screen component, it's just a what's it called now? It's just a button, right? So I want to put that button here. So let's go to action. That should be action card. So rather than this, right? So I'll call this. So so pay now. We use the same word, right? So payment now. So let's go back to find out what the problem is. So we see this, and that's because we call a button inside a button. So what I'm going to do is let me remove this e tag, right? Save that. So we have these two. So for this, let me do arrow 2, right? So we have this. So if I click here, now Paystack is taking over. So there's any error, it's going to let me go. You see?
Oh,
Error.
yeah.
So let's say we could not start this transaction, invalid merchant selected. Okay, so let's see where that is possibly coming from. Let me remove this. Invalid merchant
Sir, you free
user. Doesn't matter. Let me just use. We're not passing. I'm not passing any user. Yeah, I'm just doing this is a test. We're not passing. Let me say gmail.com. Let's see.
Sir, you replace the key because I don't because the key no show any
No, no, no.
difference in that for
So
that
let
one.
me hit here again.
Mm.
So something is not right. Invalid merchant selected. Hmm.
Only for me, one that key.
Calm down. We're not looking at that. So let's see. So reading configuration. So this thing is sounding like it's coming from here, but let's see. Why? Let me remove this and let's just say, let's say, yes. So invalid merchant. Why? Okay, let me look at their. Let's see. Let's see. You guys talk too much. Ah, so let's see why. So it's not supposed to. Let me pause. So front end is super easy. I mean, this their dependency is super easy in the sense that so when we hit on this route, it generates a token, not like a token, sha, but it generates the checkout URL. So it takes us to that checkout URL, make the request. That's where billing happens. Once the billing has been done, then bring us back to where we want it to bring us back to. So we want it to either we could want it to bring us back to this side, or if it's not successful, it brings us back here. Is that clear? Right. So for some reason I don't know why it's not working, right? And so that's where the challenge is from. But ultimately, this is not how we're going to code, and that's the key reason why I'm not so worried, right? Because this is not how we're going to code. We're going to code from back, and I just pray everything works fine still. So let's do that. So what we're going to do is first off, how do we even know what to do, right? So the best way to go about that is to come to their documentation. So let me see. Let me do P stack docs. Belfana. So P stack docs, right? So if I click here, okay, so there are several stuff we can do with it. We can accept payments, we can send money, we can identify customers, and of course there are other things we can do. But what's of concern to us is what this accept payments, right? So that people can pay, we can bill people, right? So this is good. So this is more or less like okay, the end point that will be hitting. Is that clear? So to go to dive deeper, I'll come to payment, and this is accept payment, right? So this is practically where we're going to be starting from. So rather than these docs, we are developer, right? So we start from API. So we just go to API. So we want to get their API, then from there build, right? So and if you read all of these, right, they gives you details of what to do and how to do. So what I want is let me see transaction. So in transaction, this is what we have, right? So let me go up. Okay, so this is where we start. So we initiate transaction. Is that clear? Now this is to verify a transaction. Exactly. And we have a list of them, right? So what we want to do is to initiate transaction. Let me explain this very fast. So for example, a user called and like, maybe claim this, it didn't happen, I paid. So they'll tell you, okay, send us your reference number, right? So with that reference number, you can verify whether this user, right? Good. Now, so of course, developer work is super easy, right? So we look at their API call. This is how we can use their API. Of course, you guys cannot read SQL, right? So what we'll do is to come to a language that we know how to use, which is what Node, right? And in Node, we can see HTTP request, right? HTTPS rather, because we're requesting across server. We can even go further to say, okay, we want to break this thing to Azios, right? But let's use this HTTPS, right? In fact, because of this, that's why you guys learned HTTPS for a moment like this. So we'll go to
So you don't have the express.
hmm?
You don't have the express.
I'll give you server.
Yeah.
Express is for what? Express is for what?
It's for communication.
Express is for what? Use Express. You're creating your own server. They've created their own server. How would you consume their own server? So let's come here. Let me close here. Let's do let me just do let me duplicate this guy first. So let's call here make payments, something like that, right? Then let me come here and just paste what I copied. Of course, it won't be wise to have this guy here, so let me cut it and have it here. So let's see where this red is coming from. So this user. So at the moment, let's just comment this. Is anybody lost with what we have here? Is anybody lost with what we have here? No, right? Remember your HTTP call, right? HTTP, HTTPS, right? Okay, so we can see conflict, right? We can see conflict. So what I'm going to do is let's call it response, right? So it doesn't conflict. Okay, so we have this, and let's use a type for any. Okay, so we save that. So now here we're going to put a key, right? So this key will be what our secret key, right? So let's come back to this stack. So remember we're using the test mode. So now we can, am I recording? So now we can use this our key. Now remember that this key has to be private, most especially this one, production, the live one. So we're going to remove what we have here and save that. Hmm? Yeah. So that's their own security measure. So there is any right here. So now this thing I removed here now, let me cut it. And so this is where it ended, right? So let's call it here. Then this data, this thing we want to console log, let's have it here. So we don't need this anymore. That's it. Is anybody lost? Clear, right? So the route is a post route, right? And we have all our. So let's look at the price. So the price here is. So let's. What we're going to do is we're going to say const, right? This will be coming from west dot body. So would pass. So here let's put amount and amount and what email. So why is this guy
It's confusing that now.
okay? The one we have down there. So let's change that one because this one is from here. So let's call this first. So this is here. So now I can remove this and remove this. Is anybody lost?
Email any amount.
Yeah, email and amount. So let's create an endpoint for this guy. So we go to our router.
That amount. So you know, things are the same amount local currency,
Mm.
US local currency, so if you pass amount, where is the conversion?
Oh, okay,
It's
that's
based
good.
that running the
No, Paystack doesn't do that. So what we're going to do is so say pass int, right? We pass that amount multiplied by 100. Thank God say you mentioned that. Now, so 100, yeah, 100. Now, I'm feeling like this thing would crash because it should be string, right? So, so do that to string. Thanks for bringing that to our notice. Okay, so now let's go to create that endpoint. So we're going to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 user router. So here, bring that down. Remember that it's going to be a post route. Would say a make payment and save that. So once we save that, let's come here. So this now become local host make payment. Yeah. The idea of the person making payment. And when we're protecting it, we would know who is who. So this is just a test. Let's test that everything is working. So we'd email, which would be, let's say, Peter at test.com. Then would have amount, which would be, let's say, 4,000, right? So now if I hit here and ah, so let's say merchant may be inactive, please contact. So what is happening? If I can send that email. So let me use the other let me use the other one. So let's log out. So if this didn't work, this is where would smile.
So,
So this, I mean,
this
this,
one will be
yeah. So the same thing. Ah,
yeah, on strike.
say,
I say on strike today.
I don't know. If your business was disabled, it wasn't disabled. Let me pause this video and maybe just quickly create. So this is the front end side, right? So what I just did was nothing, just come here, refresh here back, right? So if we hit here, yeah, so it loads. So because it's a test, right? Won't put all those. So they will automatically generate a test card this thing through. But then you can choose, is it transfer you want to do? Is it bank, like PayPal bank you want to do? Is it USD? So you choose which of them you want, right? And I think I explained why card is better, right?
Yes, yes.
So once you hit here, so it marks successful. Now this is where the challenge is. So we've hit there, it takes us here. Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense, right? So that's why that's why the back end now, right? So this is what amateur will do per se, right? But with the back end, you now have now. It used to work for, I think, GS it will work because that was the last time I used it, right? GS it will work. This unsuccessful, because this unsuccessful, you can now put navigation here. So once they hit here, it now navigates them, right? You can do that. But for some reason, it's not just, it doesn't work with CS, or maybe that feature didn't work again. I don't know. Okay, so that's that for front end. Very easy, clear, right?
Yes.
Now back end is tricky, right? So let's go back to,
Sorry,
yes,
on the front end, you know that this is anywhere.
yes, still there, make the payment still. So the front end is just you seeing that, oh, your pay stack is working.
But it will tell you consumer the deal was not successful. To give them
You
a
don't
That
see
was
wetin
fast
we
now.
do now. You don't see wetin we
no,
do
no,
now.
that one is a good one. Success.
Did you see what we did now? So we click here.
You might not be
So why that guy is still trying to go? I want to copy the secret key. So I copy the secret key, duplicate
In that
transaction.
is network.
And that's no duplicate transaction. That's because I need to refresh here to make a new request for a transaction. Right? You can't hit a transaction button twice. You understand, right? So that they don't make payment twice. Okay. So now let's come back and let's focus on our back end. So let me change this. Save here. Okay. Focus. So our server is still struggling to spin. Okay. So now let me hit here. Okay. So now this is what you're going to get.
Nine,
Did I click on sign in?
and that is payment.
So now this stuff generates and gives us this checkout URL, right? Now this is the reference code. Exactly. This reference code. So if the person said so maybe complain, right? Like this is the reference code they should send to you. That's what you now use to verify this user. Now hitting here doesn't mean the person has paid. Exactly. So what we're going to do now is we're going to copy this URL. Please pay attention. Come here, paste this URL here. So this URL now will now give us the payment screen. So that same payment screen we saw at the front end side, right? So that's what it's going to generate here. So we can now click on what we want. So once I hit here, now payment has been done. Now if I come to my pay stack and I click on customer, right? So this is me, right? That just made payment. So if I click here, right, takes me to show details, right? So I just paid 4,000 naira with card, right? Now is remember that first I hit that, right? But I did not pay. Do you understand?
Yeah.
This was the one that paid this green, but this guy hit it. And that's where you can now track and say, okay, a lot of people came and hit, but they did not proceed. Why? So you can now send them follow-up email. Do you understand what's the problem? Whosoever reach this place wey no click card na serious person, but maybe distraction happened, right? So network. So if I click on that, right, to get detail of that payment, I'm going to see that reference number. So this is the reference number and I'll see successful that I would use to verify, right, that this person paid. Do you
So I
understand?
didn't ask
So
for
if
the
I'm
card.
refunding, you say,
They're not asking for the card.
you know we're using test card. So once we just click that card, right, so it generates this number. But if we're using live mode, right,
Okay.
so if I log out and use maybe that other account, right, you see, so the reference number is to verify the person. If this person, so we could have claim, and I don't want to come to pay. This is Paystack dashboard giving me detail about this transaction. Do you get? So I wouldn't want to come here to check for that. So we can create an endpoint where they just send the reference number. We put in the reference number. It gives us this dashboard. Yes. So that maybe they want to request for a refund. They want to request for a claim. You understand that, right? So, and I've shown you the endpoint you're going to use for that, which is what? Verify
Verify.
transaction. Now, let's look at this properly. So, observe something that happens here. Our transaction is successful. We are still here, right? Let me click here off. So, if I click here off, everything goes up. So it doesn't make sense in the sense that they click on our stuff, they've made transaction. It's supposed to take them to our site, right? Like the main dashboard, they now have access, or it takes them to a page where we say congratulations, your transaction has been successful. We show them a receipt that tells them how long their plan would last, it's going to expire so time. Click this button to start enjoying our platform. So they click on that button, it takes them to the landing page. Do you understand that? But what we're seeing here is what? Just check out payment, right? Now, if we come down and say show parameter, this guy is going to tell us what other parameter does this thing takes, right? What other parameter does this thing take? Wetin I teach una na how to build fintech o. Wey dey hear fintech, how to build fintech. Some people dey play. Let me even pause this. These are certain parameters that this guy take. He takes amount and email. That one we've looked at it, right? It's important, right? It takes plan, right? So you can set plan, right? Now, where I want to focus on is this callback URL. So this callback URL, right, it's when a payment is successful, right, where should it go to? That is the URL. Does that make sense? So now let's test that out. So let's come here, would come to um where is that place we put amount?
That one. This is just
Okay, yeah, right. So we'll put that, and let's come here. So that should be like where is the place we want to route them
main
to?
screen.
Well, congratulations.
We didn't
That one
create
is
that
success.
screen.
Yes, running out main screen.
Okay, so let's just do main screen, right? So this is where we want it to route them to. Now let's test it out. So we come here, we hit here again. So once we hit here, it generates this.
Another code. Another one.
Yeah. So we hit this successful, then it route us here, right? Now here, of course we've come here, but you know that our stuff has not changed, right? But you understand, right? Now before we would come pay attention to here, another thing we're going to do is if they cancel, where should it take them to? And that's very important because I can still be here. Let me come to, so this is where we would want them to come to if they cancel, right? So let me copy that, and let me hit here again. So they are here, right? But they cancelled, right? Say it's not cancelling itself. Okay, it's not even cancelling, right? And that's bad experience, right? So what we're going to do for that is what we're going to do. So yeah, this guy take metadata. Now this metadata takes object, right? So let's come to paystack again. Now this is the metadata, right? Now this metadata takes a lot of stuffs, and it's very important that you even study everything that is inside this metadata things it takes, right? So um we can capture the user names, right? We can capture their name. We can these are how we can these are the custom field, right? That we can capture their names. Item they purchased, right? We can capture it. Let me calm down. We can put cancellation. This is where I'm heading to. When they cancel, right? Which is cancel action. So let me first off come here, put that. So if they cancel, right, this is where it should take them to. Someone asked, what if you want recurrent, you want make dem dey pay, right? This is it, recurring, right? So you just call this, right? So what this implies that it's going to make, but before you do this, there must be a policy that you read and agree to. Do you understand?
That is
Yes,
what
for
platform
renewal.
renew.
Yes, auto renewal.
Yes. Yes.
So now now we can say we want to filter the bank card we want. We don't want all bank, we want certain bank card, right? You might have your reason why that, right? Now, and the kind of card, master, base, and the rest, right? So if you don't put anything, it accept all cards. But the moment you put, then you're now streamlining the cards that you want. Is that
The
clear?
bank and the
Now
bank.
we can as well decide on our channel. So remember that there was a part where I showed you guys where you can do USSD, you can do transfer, right? So by default you have all of these, but we can now define our channel to say it's only card you can use. Exactly. And I think I should even call this. So let me do channels. So we do channels. So this channel will take an array. Inside the array, we put card, right? So we save that. You see? Now, here as a developer, these two parts is very important: split code and account, right? So what's that? What's split code? Now for split code, you're splitting the payments. So once the money enters, certain percent comes to you, another percent goes to. So let's take for example you're building an e-commerce business where people can come post their business, post their products, right? When they pay, right, how do you manage that payment? To be tedious, right? So you could just say, okay, for every payment on this platform, 5% comes to you, right? And the rest goes to the person. This is where you do that, you do the splitting. Do you understand? Then there's also that sub account, right? The sub account is similar with split payment, but the difference is just that it's sending the account. So we are two persons that built this thing. So main account, sub account, right? So it send a split to those two accounts. You understand? Don't worry. There's a project, right, that you guys would work on that has to do with something like this. Don't worry. Okay, so let's come here and let's hit this again. Let's check for the cancellation. So if we do this and I hit on cancel, so
Yeah.
it takes me here, right? You understand? So once we cancel, it takes us here so that they can continue the payment, right? If I come here and I hit it again, so it
No.
comes here. So our channel is only
You
card,
can.
right? Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay, now it's easy for back end. How would front end use this? Think about it. Number one, when we hit it, it generates what? URL, right? So do we copy that URL and paste it? That becomes a problem, right? How do we do that? Let's think and let's start. So first thing first is we need that endpoint to make that payment, right? So we're going to, yes, we need that endpoint, right? So let's come to our API, right? And in our API, let's go to here and let me duplicate this. So let's call it make payment. So this is a post route, and this is what um eh? Make
Make
payment,
payment.
abi?
Make payment.
So make payment. So we don't need here. So let's remove that. Okay. So this is it, right? Please pay attention. So let's copy this now, and let's go to this our screen button. So let's remove, we're not using this guy anymore, right? So let's remove all these guys. Have you now?
Then the back end.
So inside here now, we're going to call that our endpoint, right? So we need email and we need amount.
Amount.
So let me come back here and pass
Yes.
data. So come here. So here, so email would be, so let's go to is it here, and let's copy this. So here would have the email, right? So that would be data dot email, right? Then amount. So amount, let me just put anything for now, right? So let's say 30,000. Okay. So we're going to return rest, which will be any, and yeah. So first off, let me console log what rest is. Okay, so we have this. So let's cancel here. So this is the button, right? So Control Shift F12. Okay. So if we hit on this button, so we can see data. No, this is not what we want to see.
Say email.
missing parameter. Ah, so let's see. Now let me remove here first, and let's turn it to data at test.com. So I want to see what are we getting with this data. So let's see. So that should be dot data, right? Then before the email. So data dot, right? So that's what we should have. So if we hit here now, um, okay, so we have this. So we can see that URL, right? So data, right? Data, then authorized URL. That's what's of concern to us. So that means that I can say dot data dot this. So let's put this. So at this time I should just be saying the URL. So if we hit this, so this is URL. So how do we get this URL to open? You understand? Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So we're going to use window dot location dot um replace, then pass this thing inside there and save. Let's try that again. Let's see. So now if we click here, when it gets it, we see this. But we can make it make better sense, right? So there's a pause time. Just like if I come here, I hit here, there's that pause time. Why it waits. So you can automatically say, okay, once you click on this button, set loading to be true. If loading is true, you're doing something, right? Do you get?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, so now we click here, it takes us to here. Does that make sense? Okay, yes. But yeah, the guy is still he don't make payment yet, they still, right? And that's why it's important that you don't pick them here directly. You first of all pick them somewhere else, right? But let's look at how is this URL appearing, right? So this is how this URL is appearing. So this is the reference, right? So that means that if we see this, the person has made payment. Abi, if we see this, the person has made payment, right? If the person can come to this screen, the person has made payment. Now I'm just going to do this like this, but maybe the next class when we do this thing proper, right, would measure, would compare, because some crook dey they can generate this value. You understand? So now check if this value, right, is verified, is what is in Paystack is verified, right? Using that verify URL, that verify endpoint. So it's just recreating another endpoint, right? Then make sure that what we get. Now let's start with the focus of we getting this, right? So let's go to this blocker, right? Should we do it here? Let's do it here because this is where it routes them to, right? So so let's call np sorry, let's do const, right? Let me just say value is equals to use params, right? Because I want to get this URL, Will that work? I'm not sure, but let's try and see. So let's console log URL. Let's see. So I'm getting empty objects. Hmm. So let me see. How do I get that? So let's say font. I've forgotten. Let's say um use location without okay. Let me do window dot location dot. There should be a URL thing. Um, there should be something that can give me URL. Let me see.
That part is
Let's try it. Yeah, let's try it out. So let's see. Yeah, href, right? So
DRS.
so from this, right, we can get this,
This location.
right? No, location will give us paths. Location depend on paths. So now, now, see, I'm trying to look for every possible way, right, that we can avert jingles them. You understand what I mean by jingles? Because this is very important. Whosoever hit this endpoint have access to our platform. So what I'm seeing here is, of course, they won't know what combination we used, right? So we can split by equality to get this, right? And we can split by this ref to get this. They will now say, will now compare that the two of them must be equal. Do you understand me?
No.
Yes. So what I'm saying is we would split, right? Look at this thing and
It's the same with
this
that
is
one.
the same.
So is it always the same? Are they always the same?
I think so. I think so. So we need to make sure that it is, because this is your transaction reference and this is the reference, right? So our reference and our transaction reference must be the same.
So this is more like a question to like checkmate.
Yes, now we're trying to,
Yeah,
because whosoever passes here
yeah.
have access to our stuff. And remember that our endpoint, our business endpoint, our business endpoint is this endpoint. Here's our endpoint.
Make people
This
active
side,
user.
because this is the endpoint that is converting the inactive user to be true. I mean, you understand, right? So this is our business. This is the business logic. The side that would the endpoint that would give us money. Na here e dey. If anybody can hit here, right, without paying, of course, think about the first time you knew that there's a cheat for MTN. What did you do? You come dey call your friends abi on cheat on this cheat. Just imagine that's what will happen to you.
Those children don't enter, they give out the cheat.
So people are looking for it, right? So that's why we need to protect this endpoint. So now what we're going to do now is, now that we've gotten this, right, so I can do, let me just duplicate this and say dot split, right? So I want to split by this. Let me even do by this. No, we'll do by equality, and so I want to split by that, then pick the second. So if we save this, oh, so we get this. So now I want to split by equality. Do you guys get? So the point is, let me get only this and let me get only this. Get the two of them. So let's keep punching. So let me say dot split again. So I'll split by, yeah, split by quality. This one I can pick one, so this one would work. Then this one I'll pick zero. So if I pick zero, let me split by and. So dot split by and pick zero. So if we save this, we get these two. So now, so we can now say, let me quote this. So I can now say if this equals to this, so here we can now, but the thing we've not even called that is active API here. So let me just, so here would be after payments. So after payments, we don't need anything here. We don't need anything here. So this would be patch and um so would go to user router and add exact what's the controller name? We've not used we've used it now, right? Didn't we use it? We didn't use it. So would come here and say, let me see, active user ID patch. So yeah, so here is active, so slash user ID. So we can now come here. So once all this is met, so did we not call? Okay. First off, we put this, then second come here. So this would now be user. That's it. You can see as I save, here just as I save, here just go away, right? So that's it. Yeah. So that's it, right? And so that's it. So that's how we implement that.